Of House State Government Committee. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Representative Decker.
Present.
Representative Duplessis.
Present in my office.
Thank you. Representative Flood.
Present in my office.
Thank you. Representative Graham. Representative Heath.
Present in person.
Representative Heverin. Representative Johnson.
Present in the room.
Representative Maddox.
Present for my annex office.
Thank you. Representative Mentor. Representative Nemes. Representative Smith. Representative Stevenson. Representative Tate.
Present in the room.
Representative Tipton.
Present in the room.
Representative Upchurch.
Present in the room.
Representative Wheatley.
Here.
Representative Bowling.
Present in the room.
Representative Bratcher.
Here in the room.
Representative Miller.
Present. So we are duly constituted. Everyone, remember this. Turn your cell phones to vibrate. Those of you in the room and online, make sure that you are appropriately audible, and if you're not in the room, put yourself on mute for now. For those attending out in the audience, we don't have many people, but we do have a guest apparently, Representative Decker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have two guests here today, two constituents of mine. If you all will stand up, and we'd like to welcome you. It's Denise Reynolds. She is an exceptional child educator in Learning Through Internship program at the Big Picture Academy, which is part of the Shelby County Public School System. And one of her students, Hiromi Ramos, we're going to see her quite a bit around here this term, and she will be my page at some portion. So thank you all for being here, and welcome.
Welcome. First item on the agenda is H.R. 27, sponsored by Representative Brandon Reed. Please join us at the table. Representative, welcome. Floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The resolution it's a simple resolution, but what it does, it allows the 12 months of the year for Declaration of Independence and the Constitution, Kentucky Constitution, and then the Bill of Rights to be celebrated each month. Part as an education course for the citizens of Kentucky and allow us as the General Assembly to highlight the Bill of Rights and our Constitution, Declaration of Independence, Mr. Chairman.
We have a motion on the bill and a second by Representative D.J. Johnson. Motion was by Representative Tipton. Any questions? Very straightforward bill or resolution. And seeing no questions, I will give Representative Graham a second to get seated if he had any questions about H.R. 27. And seeing none, Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Representative Bowling.
Yes.
Representative Bratcher.
Yes.
Representative Decker.
Yes, and thank you for bringing this bill, Representative.
Representative Duplessis.
Yes.
Representative Flood.
Yes.
Representative Graham.
As a former social studies teacher and a history teacher, I welcome this opportunity because the more we talk about it, the more people become educated about what the Constitution really is all about. So thank you.
Representative Heath.
Yes.
Representative Heverin.
Yes.
Representative Johnson.
Yes.
Representative Maddox.
Yes.
That was a pass.
Pass.
Yes. No, it's
Oh,
yes.
yes.
Thank-
Yes. Sorry.
Yes, sir.
It was a pass or
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Representative Mentor. Representative Nemes.
Yes.
Representative Smith.
Yes.
Representative Stevenson. Representative Tate.
Yes.
Representative Tipton.
Yes.
Representative Upchurch.
Yes.
Representative Wheatley.
Yes.
Representative Miller.
Yes, matter passes with favorable expression. Same too shall pass. Thank you very much, Representative. And we have the next item where I'm going to be at the table. So Representative Bratcher, if you would take the chair.
Okay, next on the agenda is House Bill 47, sponsored by Chair Miller.
Very good. Thank you.
49, I'm sorry, 49.
Yes. The background on this is General Assembly, for those younger members, passed pension spiking provisions in 2013, and they've been amended several times since. It was originally designed to mitigate the impact of members who, in the last few years of their employment, work significant amounts of voluntary overtime in order to boost their creditable compensation on which their pension is based. In 2018, it was amended to create a look-back period and limited spikes above 10% of their 5-year average compensation, except in certain circumstances. Fast forward to May of 2020 in Metro Louisville, we had significant civil unrest subsequent to the killing of Ms. Breonna Taylor, and there was demonstrations in writing that caused Mayor Greg Fisher to declare a state of emergency and order LMPD to work mandatory 12-hour on, 12-hour off shifts. And while Governor Beshear sent in the National Guard, he did not declare a state of emergency, which would have given an exception for this mandatory overtime not to be caught in the spiking calculation, which would affect the retirement pay of these gentlemen, of these officers, rather. In other areas, various situations cause officials to dictate mandatory overtime for their employees without a qualifying state of emergency declarations. So this bill does 4 things. On page 3, section 14E2 creates an exemption for mandatory overtime hours worked above 100 per fiscal year. That's essentially 8-hour shift once a month. So once you go over that, you would likely be touching on 100 hours. Page 4, it adds the governor mobilizing the Kentucky National Guard as an exception, regardless of he or she declares a state of emergency. Page 5 makes retroactive to May 28, 2020, which is the date that the governor sent in the National Guard to Louisville, and the mandatory overtime was ended on May 11th, 2021 by LMPD chief, which is why on page 5, section 2, this is a retroactive to a period. And then page 6 declares an emergency because a number of these officers have retired. I'm joined by Representative Reed, who this was brought to his attention as well by one of his associates. Would you like to speak?
Absolutely. I had some individuals that was working in that area, and they brought to my attention last year. I reached out to Representative Miller, and we started talking about it, and he was kind of working on some nature of this bill already, so we just combined our efforts, and I appreciate you, Chairman Miller, to take it. This would be very beneficial and crucial for our officers and things of that nature, especially in the realm of retirement. So thank you all. Appreciate it.
Thank you. You're welcome. But again, the spirit of the original spiking provisions were to get at beneficiaries who were voluntarily taking actions to boost their retirement. Mandatory overtime should not be caught in that net. And if there are no other questions, but I would be happy to entertain any questions.
Committee sub.
Okay, the committee sub is now before us. Any, you done?
Actually, what my description include what's in the committee sub, so we are covered in that description.
Any questions? Representative Heath.
Thank you for bringing the bill. We experienced some of the same with the tornado in Western Kentucky. Our local sheriffs, city police, the firemen, they were all mandatory overtime, and they appreciate you guys bringing this because it will cover them too.
Thank you.
Representative Nemes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to take this opportunity, one, to say thank you to the two sponsors, but also to highlight again that this is an indication that we don't have enough police officers in Kentucky. We don't have enough in LMPD, don't have enough at KSP, probably in many other jurisdictions that I don't represent. We need more police officers. There is in Louisville a crime spike right now. It's violent. There's a significant number of murders, more murders last year than we've ever had. Over 100 kids in JCPS were shot last year. 24 shot and killed. Robberies through the roof. Carjackings through the roof. We have a crime spike going on right now. We need the right amount of police officers. We don't have enough. So I want to take this opportunity, one, to thank you, but also to highlight that we need more police officers on our streets to keep our people and our public safe. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And I'll second that for sure, Representative Neiman. Representative Tipton. Okay. So we need a voice vote on this committee sub. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Okay. Any other questions? Hold on. Okay, we got a motion, a second on the bill as amended. Any more questions? Secretary, call the roll.
Representative Bowling,
Yes.
Representative Bratcher,
Yes.
Representative Decker,
Yes, and thank you.
Representative Duplessis,
Yes.
Representative Flood,
Explain my vote, sir.
Sure.
I am supportive because through the thread that came through, regardless of the condition for why it's occurring, is that what we had done previously was to stop intentional spiking. And this levels the playing field for anybody who has to come in by demand of their jobs in extenuating circumstances. It's keeping it that simple, I think, will go a long way toward bringing us all on board. Thank you. That's a yes.
She had a yes.
okay. Representative Graham,
I'm going to vote yes, and I appreciate for the sponsors bringing this to our attention. It just concerns me that as we have made these progresses and passed some of these pieces of legislation which dealt with spiking, that obviously that there are some things that we need to look at overall to make sure that we are being fair to our employees. So I thank you for bringing this piece of legislation. Thank you.
Representative Heath,
Yes.
Representative Heverin,
Yes.
Representative Johnson,
Yes.
Representative Maddox,
Yes.
Representative Mentor,
Yes, and I would like also to register my presence today and to register a yes on HR 27.
thank you. Representative Nemes,
Yes.
Representative Smith, Representative Stevenson, Representative Tate,
Yes.
Representative Tipton,
Yes.
Representative Upchurch,
Yes.
Representative Wheatley,
Yes, briefly explain.
Sure.
I think it's a great idea. This is one of those I told you so, and I'll look back to some of my friends in the rear room. Spiking and anti-spiking legislation that was created in 2013 to go into effect 2014 has caused so many issues with the pension system and so many of these exceptions and so many intentional or unintentional spiking and what's over 10% and how pensions have to be calculated, how cities have challenged certain provisions of the spiking is just something that we should I agree with Representative Graham that we should take a serious look at. Thank you, though, for bringing it in. Yes.
Representative Miller,
Yes.
Okay, House Bill 47 passes with favorable expression. Good job. Before we do the next one, I want to recognize a guest of mine out in the crowd there, Air Force veteran and Vietnam veteran Dennis Underwood. Stand up, Dennis, you and your family. That guy taught me how to golf, so blame him. And Jackson's beside him, and his lovely wife Jane is with him. So, and Jax is going to be my page today. So, on the floor. Okay, so House Bill 297 is before us, and we do have a committee sub. Do we want to adopt that? Second. Motion on this sub and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Okay, so House Bill 297 with committee sub is before us. Mr. Miller, your floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 297 is what we affectionately refer to as a housekeeping bill, which when we pass legislation, there creep into the certain conflicts into the law, and periodically we have to clean up some of the conflicts. Also, sometimes there are court cases which have to be flowed through and reflected in the legislation. Although it's a very, very long bill, as most housekeeping bills are, I think over 168 pages. You were provided with a 3-page synopsis of the bill that enables you to quickly get through the bill. You'll note there are several just general housekeeping bills of corrections, of things that have crept in, have been identified as inconsistent with the way the intent of the related legislation. There are several related to House Bill 484 and House Bill 9, which we've passed the last couple of sessions, that related to CERS, creation of the KPPA and separation of CERS. You'll see that several places. House Bill 8 is covered, Representative Tipton mentioned one time, related to the quasi bill of several years ago. And near the end in sections 16 and 17, 18, 19 relate to its duty-related disability. Senate Bill 169, some things that needed to be clarified on that. And the last item is compliance with federal law in terms of making an emergency clause because there is some litigation out there. I'll stop there because you may have questions. I'm joined by, introduce yourselves, please.
I'm David Eager. I'm the Executive Director of the Kentucky Public Pensions Authority.
And I'm Erin Surratt. I'm the Executive Director of the Office of Benefits at the Kentucky Public Pensions Authority.
And if there's any questions at all, Ms. Surratt is the technical expert in this matter, but I think we can answer any questions you might have.
Motion on the bill.
Second.
Got a motion on the bill and second. Any discussion? Representative Wheatley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And this is a long bill with lots of provisions in it, and I really do. I have a lot of questions, and I'm not going to ask all these questions now. I hope to be able to get to talk to the sponsor at some point afterward, and I wish I'd done this beforehand. Just catching up is always a little difficult. I'll get to the specific questions when we are there, but this just seems to be a lot more here than your typical, at least what I've seen, is some cleanup bills. But if there's anything anybody else can share about perhaps the health care part of this, the way that this is, there's court cases involved, and I have some questions related to that. So if anybody else has anything further they can add now, it might just help inform us.
Let me raise one issue, and then I'll ask Ms. Surratt to elaborate on some of your other questions. Section 2 is something that's somewhat related, housekeeping related, but it's also a need that's been identified by the boards, and that is we just can't hire people, investment people, which are very, very high-performing people in terms of their ability to command a high salary. Section 2 amends 61.505 and allows up to 6 positions to be outside the scope of 18A. And in fact, I think there's already the executive director and is already outside. I'd ask Mr. Eager if he would elaborate on that.
Sure. If you, Representative Miller talked about the problem we have with compensation and 18A. It affects us in two ways. One is retention. We've had, I can't count how many CIOs we've had over the last 10 years. We did get an exemption for the CIO and the deputy CIO, and they are being paid in excess of the limits, one at 235 and one at 190. We have a long-term objective of managing this money more effectively for less money, and that may involve further indexing. It may involve bringing other things in-house. Right now on the equity side, we have $5.1 billion being managed externally, and equities we have $5.0 billion being managed internally. The external monies run for 35 basis points, 0.35% every year. The internal money is the total of internal and external and indexing is 0.01. So it's a difference between 18 million and about 500,000. So the more we can look to bring money in-house, and the ability to do it's going to be tied directly to getting more staff, more talented staff. So I would just say any survey of the industry, we are way below in compensation for all of our positions.
So, Ms. Surratt, is there any? Could you respond to Representative Wheatley's other comments about, was it disability and health care?
Yes, disability and health care. And one specific, hi Erin, it's nice to see you again, is on page 7, there's a strike through of age 55 as a time when the retired member, if the disability is, I think, taken away. And then there's a strike through of age of retirement and how we went from 55 to age of retirement and what that even means.
Okay, on page 7, specifically on page 7, we changed that from age 55 to state the age of normal retirement. Age 55 in this chapter 16 was 55 for our tier 1 participants, but the normal retirement age changed for tier 2 and tier 3 to age 60. So this just includes those changes there to say the definition of normal retirement, because that's different between tiers.
All right, thank you. And here's another question. I think I can ask one more, and then
go ahead.
Maybe we'll go on. Page 27. This has to do with the testimonial evidence and the phrase objective medical evidence. And these are very important phrases when you have these cases before the administrative law judge.
Right.
But that, I'm wondering if this phrase here is related to a particular case, law case. It says the testimonial evidence of the person applying for disability retirement shall not constitute or be deemed the equivalent of objective medical evidence. And that is a very important phrase when it comes to determinations of disability retirement and hazardous duty.
Certainly. This was, I'm sorry.
It's page 27 of the sub. It's the only additional language on that page.
Yes, this was an amendment that was requested through our legal staff, and unfortunately they're not here to speak to that, so I can get more information on it. But it is to change that definition to provide that the evidence of the person applying for the disability retirement shall not constitute or be deemed the equivalent of objective medical evidence. So it's the hearing testimony itself that has to have the additional objective medical evidence to support. So you might want a further explanation of that, and we can certainly get that to you and send that out to the committee and to help you better understand that, the reason that we're asking, if that would be okay.
Sure, that's fine with me. And I'll get with all three of you afterward to see if there's some other things that we can clean up, at least answer questions on it. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Well, and you know, the kind of money Mr. Eggers was just throwing around there, sometimes you can't have enough questions. That's a lot of money out there. $5 billion here, $5 billion there. So, Representative Nemes.
I do have a similar question to Representative Wheatley about when we're adding in the advanced age, what's that going to do to the health cost, the health insurance plan cost? But I'll get that off. I ask that information offline. I do want to comment, because I know there's, I think maybe 2 attorneys, maybe 3 in here. I think the last provision that we were just discussing on page 27, I think all that means is an individual's testimony, if they're not a doctor, that's not going to be competent evidence to prove that they have a disability. You need to introduce competent evidence, whether that's by an expert witness or maybe a statement from your doctor, or even the x-rays themselves, or something like that. I think that's all that means, is somebody can't come in there, complain about a broken bone or whatever, and then that be competent evidence. So in my reading of it, that's a pretty innocuous statement.
Representative Nemus, I would agree with that. It was just so that just the hearing testimony of that member is not the only thing that's considered for that objective medical evidence.
Representative Decker?
Just on that same point, I think that could be cleaned up. Like, your explanation of it is not what I took from it. So I think it should be cleaned up. Thank you.
All right. We can work on a floor amendment.
Any more discussion before we vote? Okay, we're gonna we have the motion and the second. Call the roll.
Representative Bowling,
Yes.
Representative Bratcher,
Yes.
Representative Decker,
Yes.
Representative Duplessis,
Yes.
Representative Flood,
Yes.
Representative Graham,
I'm going to pass on it and look to when the amendment, I think, Mr. Miller said that he would have an amendment, so I'm going to pass.
Representative Heath,
Yes.
Representative Heverin,
Yes.
Representative Johnson,
Yes.
Representative Maddox,
Yes.
Was that a pass?
What was that, Savannah?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, Chairman.
thank you. Representative Mentor,
Briefly explain.
Sure.
I'm concerned about some of the things that have been brought up, and I'm looking forward to seeing Representative Miller's amendment. I'm also concerned about the phrase on, let me see the page number, on page 27 of the sub about the equivalent, something that would be deemed the equivalent of objective medical evidence. And that's language is a little concerning. I don't know there is an equivalent of objective medical evidence. So I'd like to see that cleaned up. A pass for today, and we'll see what happens.
Was that a pass?
Was that a pass, Patty?
Yes, it was a pass.
Pass.
Representative Nemus,
Yes.
Representative Smith,
Yes.
Representative Stevenson, Representative Tate,
Yes.
Representative Tipton,
Yes.
Representative Upchurch,
Yes.
Representative Wheatley,
Pass.
Representative Miller.
Yes.
Okay, we have an emergency title amendment to this. Do I hear
Motion.
a motion on that
Second.
in a second? And we'll do a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. House Bill 297 with the new title passes in favorable expression. Meeting adjourned?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Meeting adjourned.